All right, what's up, guys? My name is Stephen Guadani, 5 Sports Science. We're going to do a breakdown here of Chris David. Not the greatest quality of video. It was filmed a little too far away. It still is a side view, and he shot it at the correct, horizontal. Film it from the side, film it horizontally. It's a little bit too far away, so the quality's not going to be that great. He's this guy back over here. Ideally, we would like the full screen, but he did some really elite things with his front leg, with his trunk, some pretty elite, horizontal abduction, really good mobility, specifically through thoracic extension and deflection. I really liked it, so I wanted to show you guys this because I think it could help a lot of guys. I think it's a pretty cool video. I don't know how great the quality is going to turn out. So remember, if you want to do a video analysis with me, you can send it in for free onto my Instagram, but film it from the side, film it, horizontally, so I can get the full screen capture and get closer than this. So we want to be able to get you into the full screen, not just a little thing off to the side here. That being said, let's get into this breakdown. So he initially starts in the leg lift. What he does here is he comes to a balance point. So now what I don't like about with the balance point is I would rather see you initially shifting your momentum right out of leg lift. So as you're coming to leg lift, you immediately start moving forward and down at the same rate. What we're gonna see here is he comes to this balance point, and then he really just sits into that back leg into flexion, more of like a drop and drive. So let's go a little bit forward, take a look at that. As he starts to go here, he really just sits. I lost my pen, there it is. He just sits into this drive leg. All right, let me see if I can get this out of the way here. Okay, so he's really just sitting into this drive leg. He's sitting into flexion, all right? Sitting into flexion of that back hip really deep into that knee, ankle dorsiflexion here. But then what happens, all right, is you then have to push yourself out of that position. So you're not riding momentum and shifting and loading into that back leg. You're sitting yourself in that position, and then you have to push yourself out of that position, okay? And that causes a lot, that can cause a lot of problems. You seem like a pretty, decently explosive athlete to where you're, you can handle that somewhat, but it is still causing problems. So when we start going forward here again, all right, you're starting to push out of that back leg. Now you're starting to internally rotate that back hip. Right here, you've hit front foot strike though, but this has caused your pelvis to be late, all right? So this pelvis isn't all the way through here. Your shoulders are in a great position. Oops, that was a terrible arrow. But your shoulders are in a really good position staying back, but we need to get this hip more powered through. And a big thing of that is learning to ride and shift your momentum so you're not so deep sitting into that. That's a really tough position to get out of. It reminds me of, who's that guy? Tyler, I think his name's Tyler Chatwood, used to play for the Rockies, I think the Cubs, a little bit with the Giants last year. He throws really hard, like 97, but he ran into a lot of arm problems because this is really drop and drive, and he had a great, powerful drive, but he wasn't riding and shifting momentum efficiently, and you really have to work to overpower yourself out, and it causes all these problems with getting your pelvis through to optimally transfer the energy up the chain. So what happens is when we're trying to sequence energy through here, what's happening with you is when we see a kinematic sequence, when we want to look at the angular velocity through the pelvis, we want to look at the pelvis peaking, okay, and then off of that the trunk peaking, and then off of that the arm peaking, and they build off of each other. It passes the energy from one to another. All right, you did such a good job of horizontally abducting the arm. So when we go back, like when you're loading down, you do such an elite job of horizontally abducting and getting that arm back that you've bought yourself time to get this pelvis through and still create separation, but it can just be so much more. Like if you could power the pelvis through and keep this, like the velocity is just gonna go up from there. All right, so you do a really elite job with that. But then when we go forward here, okay, here's foot strike. All right, here, we would look at it like your pelvis and your trunk are probably more like this when they're peaking. They're kind of like overlapping. That's a bad example. Like this. And then the arm. So the pelvis and the trunk are really kind of peaking at a similar time. If we're looking at, you know, let's just say force over here and, you know, time over here. This would be like time of the delivery, you know, let's just say, you know, angular velocity over here, whatever. We're peaking them together right here at the same amount of time of the delivery. And ideally, like we said, we want to have that loop be like, okay, pelvis, okay, trunk, okay, arm. All right, they pass to each other. Because you couldn't get the pelvis through, those are probably going to be peaking somewhat together. But because you're so elite in the trunk, you might have saved yourself a little bit. And it's hard to tell. We would have to do an actual analysis, but I think that's kind of what's going on with you. All right, next is, skip one frame here. Another thing that you do super duper elite, the horizontal abduction. Okay, great. And now when you go in, big thoracic extension in the trunk. Okay, so your trunk right here is creating a lot of thoracic extension. This arm is laying back in external rotation, or it looks like it's getting, you know, really good external rotation. Okay, and then what you do elite here, forward a little bit, this front leg extension, and then the forward trunk tilts here. Go forward, one more. All right, that's ball release there. Or a little past it. We're skipping a frame because it's not the greatest frame rate. Trying to get it close. Hey, come on. I want it right in the middle of where it's trying to go. Right there, okay. So good forward trunk tilt, good front leg. So what you did really elite there, you went from that like elite horizontal abduction, you went through your rotation, big trunk, so big thoracic extension. The arm is laying back into external rotation, and then your front leg and your trunk and your spine, all of that releases all of that energy, really, really elite. That's an impressive movement. Not a lot of guys can do that. So your spine goes from that extension, then it goes to the flexion, you finish, let the scap protract. All that is really, really elite. So the big takeaways for you really just come off of that back leg. So it's going to be learning how to shift and ride your momentum from leg lift. So instead of coming to this balance point here and just sitting into that back leg like you're doing right here, it would be shifting that weight out of leg lift. So when you're here, you immediately start shifting, learning how to sit and load into that back leg and not just coming to that drop and drive position. Then when you're powering out, getting that pelvis, this is foot strike here, getting this pelvis more powered open into front foot strike so that you can pass and sequence the energy, up the chain more efficiently. So you're passing it through the pelvis, through the trunk, to the arm, much more efficiently. You already do a lot of things so well. This would really just be the biggest thing. It's getting them more efficient through that drive leg, getting more efficient through that pelvis. So, all right, man. I hope that helps. I hope that helps a lot of you guys as well. If you want an analysis, go ahead and send it into Instagram at Stephen Guadani. I'll get you guys an analysis. And yeah, stay tuned for the next show.